never thought what I witnessed and what I know now was a reality. The most beautiful thing in the world and the most hellish journey. I have so many regrets. My daughter was crying for help. I had no clue how to help her. And every father wants to do what's best for their kids. We want to shield them from pain. We want to protect them. I didn't realize we were dealing with a monster. This is a story about a monster who killed my daughter. It was about something way too big for me, for her, and for all of us. Something that was the most devastating thing that could ever happen to me and our family. And the sad thing is I'm not alone. Everyone knows a loved one or has a friend who's afflicted by this disease. I hope through Christine's story, I can help you and others battling this horrible disease. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a tough battle that many can't survive. But there is hope from the darkness. And it's time we fight back together. I remember seeing a homeless person who was an addict. And I thought, why don't they just get a job? I didn't see a person. I didn't even see a face. Little did I realize addiction would come to my own home, and my own daughter would become one of them. Through Christine's story and her journals, I hope you can see how tough it is to battle this monster of addiction. I remember the night I got the call. It was the worst call you can imagine in your life. And my daughter was the person I loved more than anybody in my whole life. I sat in the car. I didn't move. And I could do nothing to bring her back. Nothing. My baby girl was dead. I tried so hard. We all did. I hoped this day would never come. But it was inevitable.
Is on the scene. Fidel Castro, in many ways an unknown quantity in his politics and policies, but certain to be dominant in Cuba's new era, just begun.
My dad was a political prisoner for 10 years in Cuba, and my communist grandfather put him in there. My father told me the only thing that kept him alive in prison all those years was the love he had for his kids. Luckily, we managed to escape on a freedom flight to Miami. The whole time my father was in prison, my mother and grandmother brainwashed us to believe that my dad picked politics and a fight against communism over family. I didn't realize how much anger I had toward my father until I saw him for the first time and I shot him my middle finger. That's messed up. That's parental alienation. I know dysfunction. I know trauma. I never wanted this for my family. The pain was so much, I needed to go away to college and get away. I met Kim in college. We got married. We had Michael. Then a few years later, she got pregnant with Christine. remember the day Kim went into labor. It was something I was looking forward to, my first little girl. It goes from being the most beautiful moment in your life, for a father having his first daughter, to the worst moment in your life. And the day Christine was born, everything went wrong. The first epidural didn't take, the second epidural didn't take, and the third epidural, they were waiting for it to take. Kim was telling me she didn't feel good. And next thing you know, she's not talking to me. She's not moving. I look at her and her color's changing. And I'm talking to her loud. And then I'm shaking her because she's not moving. I started yelling loud for a nurse and I said, "Nurse, get in here now." And they immediately went into a code blue. And at that moment, I'm thinking, I'm gonna lose my wife, I'm gonna lose my unborn daughter, and I'm gonna be a single father. And there's a pastor coming, and he's there to read last rites. I'm not ready for that. And we're praying, God save Kim. We're praying, God save Christine. God save our family. And an hour later, I'm thinking we've seen it all. And one of the medical staff says, we may only be able to save one. And if you got to pick one, who is it? And I prayed so hard. And I asked him to save my wife. I asked him to save my daughter. I asked him to save us. And I finally get the prayer answered, the miracle. And they saved Kim and they saved Christine. Christine was the most perfect daughter a father could have. We'd have Oreos and we would watch movies till she fell asleep. And then I knew that it wouldn't get any better than that. It was perfect.
When Christine was young, she was very, very outgoing. She loved to laugh. Her personality was just off the charts.
Christine was one of those friends where she could just light up a room.
She just had such a sparkling, energetic, free spirit personality just from when she was little. Just the funniest person.
If you were having a bad day, she had no problem telling a joke in a way that she could just brighten your day. And if she was the butt end of her own joke, she was all about it.
She would walk in and just make everyone laugh. She just had just the most magnetic personality of anyone I've ever met.
But she was also the type of friend where she could switch gears, and if you needed her to be comforting or to perk you up after a bad day, in a different way and just listen and more so give advice, like she could pivot into that role too. I would just say that was just her greatest strength, is how in tune with people she was.
I would just describe her as a passionate person. Even as we were kids, she was passionate.
She was a really good soccer player. You would think, you see her like, oh, she's cute, this cute little soccer player. But then when she gets out on the field, she was like a spitfire, so quick, like running into people.
If there was a girl twice her size, Christine would just run into her, like absolutely collide, just no fear, absolutely fearless.
On the outside, Christine always had a smile. Christine was outgoing. She was caring. She was funny. But on the inside there was pain. And that pain started when she was very young. I was having success on the outside, but working hard, traveling all the time, and it finally took its toll. Kim and I had a divorce. It lasted 3 years, and it was ugly. I could never have imagined the devastating effect and trauma that the divorce had on Christine.
Letter to my 6-year-old self. It's really scary when mom and dad fight. I know that you hate it, and when it happens, you hide under tables or in your bathroom. But you have to know that it isn't your fault, and it has nothing to do with how much they love you.
I never realized how traumatic divorce would be for Christine.
Divorce is a major traumatic event, and the trauma takes the form of a breach of trust that the child experiences, so they don't know which way to turn. They can become anxious and depressed and have insomnia and nightmares. They have all kinds of overblown worries about what's going to happen in the future. They often have decreased academic performance, poor performance at sports, withdrawal from their friends, and they can become very hostile and angry and have outbursts of various forms. In the case of Christine, her ability to trust was shattered, and that had a major impact on her for the rest of her life and set her up for her addiction. So in dealing with children of divorce, anything you can do to establish trust with the child is most helpful and useful. You have to tell them, first of all, that it's not their fault, because most times they think that they are a significant part of it. Tell them that they are loved. Don't set up one parent against the other. It's important that we don't overshare information that is not appropriate for the child's situation. They need to get help. They need to feel loved. They need to be in a calm, consistent environment. And that's the most helpful thing going on.
It didn't take many years to realize Christine was having issues. It was first the grades, and then it started escalating. The emotional outbursts, the crying, the mood swings. And I'm thinking just the girl stuff. We're going through multiple tutors. We're going through multiple therapists. And now we're going through several psychiatrists. And now the prescriptions are adding up. We're talking 10 prescriptions, 20 prescriptions, 30 prescriptions. There's so much I didn't know. I didn't know she was smoking pot at 14. I didn't know how deep her mental health issues were. I didn't realize there was emotional trauma. I didn't know what I didn't know.
In a divorce situation, there's a lot of conflict, and it's difficult for parents to accurately communicate what's actually happening. And they're afraid to communicate with the other partner about what's happening with the child, or they'll keep secrets, and keeping those secrets is very damaging, because then there's no openness, there's no trust, and then the child learns that too, and then they learn a dysfunctional way of dealing with it, and everything gets compounded and the problems grow.
She had an addictive personality. So I think high school is when it kind of started. It wasn't bad, but you could see the addictive personality starting around then.
She was over here actually at my house, and we were smoking weed together, and one of my friends who was here was like, she's on something way harder. Like, there's no way she's just high on weed. And Christine, when I did try to talk to her about it, for the longest time just like swore up and down that it was just weed that she was struggling with.
The first time that she was introduced to an IV opiate was a friend of Christine's. And it was Dilaudid. And then this girl showed her how to do it. And the girl actually put it in Christine's arm. That was the first time.
I wish I could go back in time and never put that first syringe in you. Things would be so much easier. You'll always know what it feels like to feel that euphoric.
By this time, Christine's smoking pot. She's taking benzos. She's moved on to harder opiates. She's wearing long sleeves to cover her cutting.
Christine had a lot of the signs of potential addiction. Her cutting at a young age is an indicator that she didn't have the coping skills to handle the pain, and that drugs would come in and handle that pain for her. A lot of people cut because they don't understand how to process the pain emotionally, even the pain of normal adolescence, but definitely the pain of trauma. It's a way to relieve that pain in a very physical sense, especially if the trauma was physical.
We know from research that the younger we start using drugs, the more problematic it is, because it is damaging the growth of a normal brain at a time when the brain is actually forming itself and growing. When a brain uses drugs, it alters the function of the brain in certain areas. Different drugs have got different areas that they cause dysfunction. And so when you inactivate certain parts of your brain, then your ability to make reasonable judgments is severely impaired. And that's why people end up in very complicated, difficult situations with accidents, with poor relationships, with difficulty thinking as a result of the use of their drugs.
911, what's your emergency?
My girlfriend just took a bunch of her dad's Xanax. She's trying to kill herself.
Are you with her now?
No, she's at her house. I'm scared. I don't know what to do.
That was the first time in my life I remember seeing my daughter in a different light. I loved that girl more than anything. That never changed, but I started to see a disease. I didn't see addiction, but I saw a mental health disorder. If I could go back in time, I wish I would have gotten in that ambulance and said, honey, I love you more than anything. What can we do to help you? Because at that point, I didn't know it was addiction yet. I didn't even know what addiction was at that point. But I know we were all in trouble, not just her. I remember asking her, Christine, what can I do to help you, honey? How do you feel? And just on cue, Christine would always say, don't worry, Daddy. This isn't as bad as you think. I shouldn't have done that. It's just boy-girl stuff. I didn't take all the Xanax. And I know what I was thinking was, I love that girl more than anything, but I hated whatever was going on inside of her. I hated it. I remember crying, but not knowing what to do. I was absolutely helpless. And I know I was no longer in denial about her mental health issues, but I was still in denial of that my daughter had substance use disorder.
The story of Christine and Mike is a very common scenario. The normal reactions that people have to any stressful situation are denial and minimization. The more informed you are, the easier it is to negotiate that. The more open you are to other people's ideas, especially people that are experts or people who have had a lot of good experience in a particular area, and listening to what they've got to say, that can be very helpful. So for instance, going to an AA meeting will inform you about how other people deal with addiction. And you realize that these are all common experiences, and then it opens your eyes and minimizes your denial.
As soon as Christine graduated, she moves out of the house. She moves in with a drug dealer, and it escalates from there. She steals stuff from a store and gets caught, goes to jail. She goes to jail again for battery and assault on her boyfriend. My son and I were trying to keep her out of trouble one day, and she threw herself out of the car. Sometimes I would sleep with my wallet on me. She would take all the money out. her and her brother were getting into a fight, and I stepped in the way, and she stabbed me through my hand with a pen. She had a car wreck, and she got $15,000 for it. I'm out of the country, and I found out that she took that $15,000 and used it for heroin in 3 weeks. She started dealing drugs. So a fake delivery truck with a fake label comes to the house and drops off a package. And there were drugs. She gets into a dozen accidents over the course of a year and a half. The mechanic said, "There's no way I'm fixing this car. Your daughter is a drug addict, and you don't want to admit that. I know you love your daughter, but not looking at the truth of this is only gonna hurt you and her, and it's gonna kill somebody else." And I knew he was right. It was a brutal awakening that day, but that's the insanity of this disease. That's how much you're in denial of this disease. Especially a father and a daughter, you don't want to believe your beautiful little girl is somebody who's suffering from substance use disorder. It was a brutal awakening that day. There's a saying that you live one day at a time. And Christine would write in her journals, "Dad, I'm not living one day at a time. This disease is so powerful, I'm not even living an hour at a time. I'm not living a minute at a time. I'm living one freaking second at a time, Dad." We were all living 1 second at a time with her. And that's what this disease does. It takes the entire family, all the loved ones down that rabbit hole. We are all in it together.
To my body, I never thought I would put you through what I did. I put you through scary situations, pain and disrespect. I put needles in you when I've sworn up and down I'd never get to that point. There I was on the bathroom floor, hopeless, with a needle in my hand, pulling the fluids into the syringe, wondering how much it would take to end this sad little life of mine.
When Christine first went to treatment, I realized that this was a disease. It's a disease of the brain. This disease of addiction in the last 20 years has killed more Americans than the Vietnam War, than the Korean War, than World War II and World War I.
Nobody wants to be an addict when they grow up. That's not how they set down this path. But if we're going to help folk with substance use disorders, we have to see them fundamentally as humans. They are someone's child. They are someone's parent. They are someone's partner. They may be physicians and sports stars, people from the highest socioeconomic groups down to the homeless under the bridge. They're all human beings. If we're to help them, we need to see their fundamental humanity and treat them with dignity and respect. In that way, we can take them back into the fold and help them to recover.
I think one of the things for Christine was she carried such a tremendous amount of guilt and shame with her. And what happens in this disease, especially with someone who has some trauma to start with, is that the disease is re-traumatizing. And they put themselves in situations, and Christine did, where she was vulnerable to being traumatized again and again and again. And it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, this re-traumatization, where in spite of her shame and guilt and fear and pain, she continued to put herself in situations where people could hurt her and take advantage of her. And a lot of that was done to keep the disease alive. She needed to do that in order to feed the monster that was living inside her. So she was caught in a vicious cycle that she just could not get out of.
A letter from my disease. Hello, Christine. I love it when you're alone and when you're hurting. It feeds me. It nurtures me. It makes me feel alive. Every time you steal, every time you lie, and every time I get you to stick a needle in your arm, it proves how devoted you are to me. I'm so happy when you're dope sick. That's when I know I've got you wrapped around my finger the tightest. You'll do anything to make us not sick anymore. I am the one you rely on the most. I am the best friend you've ever had. You owe me your life. You can't kill me, no matter how hard you try. But I can most certainly kill you. Love, your best friend.
Those drugs are so powerful that even with all of her might, she still couldn't shake it. She would say, "Mom, I don't want this. I hate this. I hate this feeling I have." She would beg God, "Please, please, release me of this feeling that I have." And we obviously tried to do everything imaginable to help her through this.
The reality of rehab is it's a messy and a difficult process. You didn't get there in an easy way, and you're not going to get out in an easy way. For me, it was difficult because I'm in the insurance business, right? And everything for me is I try to help big companies with metrics and data so they can lower their risk. And when you enter the world of rehab, there's no metrics. I ask simple questions. What's your success rate? What's your relapse rate? And they don't have any of that. And if they tell you they do, they're lying. That data doesn't exist. In our case, Christine was in and out of rehab at 20 different residential treatment centers. The best advice I could give anybody that's going to residential treatment or to sober living is to pick a place that's got great people running it that have been in recovery a long time, because they understand it the most. They're going to be the least likely to be manipulated. They understand the power of the monster behind this addiction. You got to talk to the people in that home, and that person's only as good as those people in that home. The cost of rehab is insane. Typical cost is $5,000 to $6,000 a month. So it's almost $20,000 to stay somewhere for 3 months. That's untenable. That's just not something that the typical family could do.
Treatment for substance abuse disorder is very complicated, and the individual person has to make a choice about which road they need to travel in their recovery. Some people try abstinence, some people try methadone or buprenorphine. There is no one single road that is guaranteed to be able to get you the results that you want, but you have to find your own road. Hopefully you'll have a good therapist to guide you on that track. From a scientific point of view, all the evidence suggests that medication-assisted treatment is the most efficient and most effective and is the most likely to save lives. However, the 12-step models are generally abstinence-orientated, but they provide all of the social network and the psychological problem-solving approaches that are very helpful in recovery. So synthesizing both of those things together is probably the best way forward.
For Christine, recovery and long-term recovery could only happen if she dealt with the trauma and those mental health issues. That anxiety, the depression. She needed to address all of it at the same time in order to stay in recovery.
You can't fight the addiction issue with not fighting mental health. Mental health is the biggest issue when it comes to drug addiction. Dual diagnosis, it's a lot bigger than people can see. What it is someone self-medicating themselves. This is what I've learned. As an addict, I self-medicated. I didn't want to live life on life's terms normally. So therefore, I self-medicated to get outside of myself. If you don't stay on the drug, as soon as you get sober, you're back to reality and the issues that you can't deal with. So it's not just about not wanting to get sick, it's not wanting to deal with things as an adult out there.
The significance of childhood trauma can't be underestimated. For every trauma that you have, you're increasing your risk of all kinds of other negative outcomes in the rest of your life, including shortened life, various physical illnesses, psychiatric disorders, as well as a significantly increased risk of having an addiction issue. So in Christine's case, she had significant birth trauma. She then had divorce trauma. She had continuation of that trauma by various abuse by various boyfriends. She had depression and anxiety and other mental issues. And as a result of her substance use, she continued to be re-traumatized by other traumas that occurred as a result. Any trauma can cause physical or psychological pain. Many folk self-medicate with illegal drugs to manage that pain.
I'm in the insurance industry. I've been in the insurance industry for 40 years. I was their top salesperson in the country. I get hired to save billion-dollar companies, and I couldn't even save my own daughter. That's humbling. That's the monster. At that point, I couldn't deny anymore. I knew that my daughter had major mental issues. And then I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, man, I've had some major traumas in my life, some horrible childhood experiences. I had major anxiety and depression. I had hit that wall, and my daughter fell to addiction. And I started realizing I was medicating. I didn't sleep. I was always worried about her. I was afraid about what she was getting herself into. Every time the phone rang, I didn't want to answer it. I was always worried about the worst news. What did Christine get into? What has she done now?
Families put all their energy and focus on the one person. They forget to take care of themselves. They lose sight of the fact that they have to take care of themselves in order to help their loved one get better. I have a lot of family members who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder because they've been traumatized by active addiction. And a lot of times the addicts don't even remember what's happening. They don't remember family arguments. They don't remember drama and chaos and trauma because they're medicated, they're high, they're blacked out. Families remember. They remember everything. They live in a constant state of fear, anxiety, panic. What's gonna happen next? What is that next phone call gonna bring? Is my worst nightmare gonna come true now? And what families fail to realize is it's about their own self-care. They can't fix the other person, no matter how desperately they want to. They have to focus on themselves. They have to take care of themselves. They have to start working their own recovery program, start helping them be well.
One of the biggest mistakes I made was about my self-care. And looking back, the biggest mistake you can make is not going to Al-Anon. That is your best friend. And what Al-Anon is Alcoholics Anonymous, for those people who love somebody that's got substance use disorder. So it is literally our own AA, our own 12 steps. The last year of Christine's life, I did more Al-Anon than the first 9 years of her journey. And I wish I would have flipped that. I didn't do that. I didn't think I needed it, and that really is what I needed. I needed to be around people experiencing the same disorder and insanity and the same monster that I was dealing with. One of the people that you love the most is dealing with these demons. And you need to be in a room where you can get honest and share things that you can never share with anybody.
Families forget sometimes or don't know that healthy boundaries are the thing that's going to help their loved one the most. In Christine's case, Mike was the enabler. He was dead on full search and rescue mode, and he needed to stop. He needed to just let her experience some pain, let that craziness happen, so she would be willing to do something different. And that was so hard. It's so hard for families to grasp that doing nothing is sometimes more helpful than doing everything.
Christine had all the love and all the support, but I don't know that everyone set the boundaries that were needed to be set with her, because it's hard when you love someone. You don't want to excommunicate yourself from their life. You don't want to turn your back on an addict, but you have to set boundaries to some extent, or else all you're doing is enabling them, not helping them.
You know, looking back, I didn't realize how much I was enabling. I should have let her go to jail a couple times. Instead, I kept rescuing her, and I know now that I was making matters worse. Eventually, I had enough. Eventually, I realized I had to cut her off, and I said enough. And I finally go, I gotta let her fall. So Christine leaves another facility. I knew it was time to set some tough boundaries.
Hey, Dad. I'm in the park. I'm by myself. I just want to talk to you, okay? Can you please pick up the phone?
And she blew up my phone.
Just answer the phone, okay?
And this went on for about 2 days. I want to say at least 100 calls.
I need some money to go buy something. Pick up the phone. Why aren't you talking to me, Dad?
There was no way I was going to pick up that phone.
You're not going to leave me out here, are you?
She keeps calling and calling and leaving one message after another, and they're just worse and worse and worse. And I could feel that she was not just manipulating, she was having a tough time. This is 2 days living in a park. And something happened. I know I was praying and saying, God, just let me know when. About a day after that, I got a call from her, and it seemed different. The 2 or 3 messages she left me were centered. Dad, I don't want to live like this. I made some bad decisions. Dad, please get me. I'm ready. I'm sorry, Dad. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about everything I put you through. I'm sorry. I know you're trying to help, but I know this is hard. And then she called a 3rd or 4th time, and then I finally picked it up. And she goes, Dad, can you pick me up? I'm ready to go to treatment. And that is the first time that I really felt in my heart she was ready. She hit the bottom that she needed to hit at that point in time, that she needed to do something different. Picked her up at the park. And I took her to a residential treatment facility. And something clicked. Because it finally worked. She gets sober. She gets her life back. It's amazing. 1 year later, she gets offered a job at a recovery center. She starts helping others. She starts fulfilling her purpose. She's having positive impact on others, and they love her there. She meets her dream boy. She gets engaged. And life is great. I finally had my daughter back. You know, in the case of Christine, we were so blessed that she found her purpose and her true connection in helping others. And This truly felt like her journey. It was absolutely special. To see your child finding their life purpose, and that life purpose being helping others with the disease that they have, it doesn't get any better than that. It was this miracle.
Thank you, God, for keeping me sober today. I can't do this without you. I'm so grateful that I really want this today. Thank you for all the times you had mercy on me. I'm so thankful that you got me to this place of surrender, of everything. God, take total and complete control of my life. Please remove my fears of abandonment, disappointment, and direct my attention to what you'd have me be. Please help me continue to rely on you. I love you very much. Christine.
You know, the greatest gift in my life was Christine being sober. I had my daughter back. It was this beautiful girl with an aura about her, and funny and light and loving, and you could see this beautiful spirit. And 2 years later, I got married to this beautiful, wonderful lady, Lorene. And the most moving moment that I ever had in my life was the father-daughter dance with Christine. The entire time we held each other and wept. I loved that little girl more than anything. And she goes, "Daddy, I love you. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad you're my dad. I know I'm always going to be your little girl. You deserve to be happy." It was almost at that point where she said, "It's okay for you to go on with the rest of your life and be happy, Dad." That was by far the most moving moment of my life.
A memory I will hold close to me forever is when Lorene and my dad got married. We shared a father-daughter dance that was one of the most powerful and indescribable moments of my life. My dad just hugged me tighter than ever, and we both cried through the whole song. He thought I was giving part of me away, but I wasn't. I was still the girl he loved most in this world. And that's still true today.
But Christine never dealt with her trauma, and she relapsed. It wasn't like just a hard fall, it was like a tsunami. And it was something none of us were prepared for. The wedding plans fell apart. Her life spiraled out of control. She resigns from her dream job. She blows up her support group. She loses all her connection. The humiliation was way too much. And she's drowning again. She's drowning again. She went from pot to Xanax to heroin to meth and coke. And then the most horrible one was fentanyl. She went from playing with fire to being engulfed in flames. Most of the fentanyl that we get in the US come from China and Mexico. And it's cooked and shipped out of there, it's smuggled, it gets driven over the border, and the postal system is probably the biggest delivery system. And the crazy thing is we know it's happening, but it's so many people, so many vehicles, so many shipments, just can't stop it all. The crazy thing about fentanyl is how cheap it is to make and how much it costs once it gets in our country. For example, on the border, you could buy fentanyl for 80 cents. Once you get into Seattle, you could sell it there for $30 or $35 a pill. And all it takes is 2 grains of what looks like salt to kill somebody. For the DEA, 60% of all the pills confiscated last year were lethal. It's like having a gun with 10 bullets and 6 of those bullets in that chamber have live rounds. Why would you want to play with that?
And now they got this fentanyl out here. You don't even know what you're getting. If anything isn't a deterrent into staying sober, that right there is, because it doesn't matter whether you're doing meth or you're doing coke or you're doing heroin. All of those things, they can mix fentanyl right up into it, and you don't even know you're doing it until it's too late.
Drug dealers are lacing everything with fentanyl because it's cheaper, because it makes the drug more potent, and they want their customers to return. So they want to give everyone a good enough high to come back. And it's killing everybody. It's killing people who don't even know that they're using fentanyl. It should be a national emergency.
As a business person, I had to figure out why drug dealers would want to put something on the street that would kill their customer base. And knowing the Mexican cartel was the largest producer of fentanyl that comes in our country, I had to find somebody we can talk to find out why they would do that. I'm about to get on a phone with a mass murderer. Somebody who makes something that kills hundreds of thousands of people. I'm a little nervous. A drug informant connected us with somebody in Mexico who works for the cartel, but they manufacture fentanyl. And I've got a lot of questions for them. It's going to be difficult.
Muy good.
Dime por qué producen fentanilo en lugar de otras drogas.
Está más barato y podemos hacer más dinero. Todo lo agarramos de la China.
Entonces las drogas vienen de China en botes.
Sí, y aquí también lo ponemos en baldes grandes.
¿Cómo hacen todas las pastillas para que se parezcan a drogas reales? Como si fueran Xanax o cocaína o metanfetamina.
Las pastillas son fáciles. Ahí tenemos máquinas para las pastillas. Más metemos es el material y la maquinita nos hace las pastillas. Si las queremos cambiar de color, le ponemos color. Es más barato que la heroína. Cuando comenzamos a hacer eso, sí, mucha gente falleció porque no somos químicos. Nosotros nomás queremos sobrevivir, ganar dinero para la familia y para que comamos como todo.
¿No les importa que están causando muertes aquí en los Estados Unidos?
La gente acá no le importa quién va a lastimar. La gente tiene que ser más responsable. Tampoco nosotros le estamos dando la droga en la mano. No le estamos poniendo una pistola en la cabeza. La gente sabe lo que quiere. La gente sabe lo que va a agarrar. Y este trabajo nos está haciendo mucho dinero. Estamos viviendo como ustedes allá en los Estados Unidos. Y yo vendiera el iPhone. Es igual este negocio, nos estamos haciendo ricos. Son millones y millones de dólares que estamos ganando.
¿Cómo se aseguran que no ponen demasiado fentanilo en las pastillas y para que no maten a la gente?
Mire, en todos lados hay gente que no son responsables, que nomás quieren sacar dinero. Es dinero fácil.
¿Quién está traficando el fentanilo?
Eso no te puedo decir. Nomás te puedo decir que los mendigos güeros no saben chequear muy bien. Nosotros podemos hacer lo que queremos. Nomás porque el presidente puso un poder más grande, es más fácil para nosotros.
Everyone has a different story, you know what I mean? Whether it's physical abuse growing up, emotional abuse, no parents, whether it's, you know, you do have all of that, but you just don't fit in. Everyone's got a reason of why they try something.
It's usually from, you know, depression, you know, and abuse, and a person does drugs, well, it takes the pain away.
Most of us want to get clean, but for some reason and for somehow, the pills just makes you forget about what's going on at that moment, or like, it just makes a lot of shit go away.
And they'll rob, they'll steal from their mom, their grandma, their friends, the store, anything just to stop that pain, the withdrawals, and then the emotional pain. I live in a tent right here. I've been homeless for 6 months now. Prior to that, I had my own business and a home and vehicle tools, and used to always look down upon everybody all these tents and the homelessness, and they had the kind of, why don't you get a job and get on your feet type attitude. And then it happened to me.
This little blue pill, it's basically a Percocet that's fake from Mexico, and it's got fentanyl in it. Now these little devils, they're just the worst, man. They take everything from you, your dignity, everything.
Threw my whole life away. I lost everyone I love, like everyone that actually really meant something to me. They just left me, and like, it's a lonely life, dude. Like, I would do anything to go back to when I was sober and clean.
So ashamed of myself, but I just don't know how to get out of it. It's just so hard.
This last year, I've had 4 friends die out here on the streets, and they overdosed so quickly, too. Seems like when the blues hit the streets, it was very fast to take a lot of people.
There's something different this time about the fentanyl. It's making it so much harder for not just me. It's almost like makes you feel like it's impossible to give that up, and that's what's really scary about it. It's not a joke. It's not a game. This stuff will destroy your life. It will take everything you love from you. It will literally take your soul from you.
What's your emergency?
I think I'm OD. I need help. Can you send someone? Please hurry.
This is my beautiful girl, and I thought I was losing her. She looked barely alive. I remember tears coming down, and when you looked at Christine's face at that point, there was less of Christine and more of the disease. My heart was still full of this love. But the reality was I could see the ugliness of this disease, the monster in this disease. I was thinking, I have to protect her from herself. And then, one of Christine's oldest and best friends died.
I'm really confused right now. I'm tired, lonely, I'm scared, and I miss you. I wish I could hug you one more time. There's a big piece of my heart missing now. You saw the darkest and worst parts of me in my disease. I hate how much our disease controlled us and stole our souls. Why did your story have to end this way? I know this is what our disease does, and I've known a lot of people who have died, but not my best friend. I hope we see each other again, but until then, you'll always be a huge part of me.
At this point, Christine had completely fallen apart, and she snuck out of another treatment facility, and we found out where she was. And we had a family member go to see if she was there. I'm on the phone with the family member, and he says, I'm gonna try to go in there and get her. The family member goes in there and gets Christine. and Christine walks out. And immediately decides she does not want to get in a car with a family member, and all insanity breaks out. All we want is Christine to want to go to treatment and see how badly she needs it. And yet I see the insanity of us, the level that we're going to want her to get there. And we're all insane. We're all down this rabbit hole. And as she's fighting, syringes fall out of her purse. And in that moment, the police comes. And the police officers are there. And one looks at me, and he realizes I'm the dad, and that's my daughter, and he sees this hopeless look on my face. I'm thinking about how insane all of this is. We just wanted to get her to go to treatment, and she doesn't want to. And he says to me, if you want to save your daughter, you need to consider having a Marchman Act. I didn't know what a Marchman Act was. So the next thing you know, I'm Googling at home.
Marchman Act is a powerful tool for families. In the simplest terms, it's helping somebody get treatment for substance abuse when they won't get it themselves. It allows a court to take over the treatment and to say, you're going to get treatment whether you like it or not. So it's no longer voluntary, it's involuntary. And you've got to go in front of a judge, and the judge has to say, yes, you're good to go. You don't need any more treatment before that judge will release you. So it's not the family strings you're pulling on anymore, it's the judge's judicial strings you're pulling on, and that's a little different because there's no emotion involved in that conversation. And that's frustrating for the person who's going through the Marchman Act because they can't use all the tricks to manipulate the family to keep them from going into treatment that they could do before. It just doesn't work. It lasts for 90 days, and then you renew it after 90 days. So we can keep people under the Marchman Act for years if they still need the treatment, and we have done that. Because sometimes it takes a lot of unwinding for folks who've been in the throes of addiction for a long time to get through this. Jail is just not jail in the Marchman Act. You go into an inpatient treatment program in the jail. So you're getting that treatment in a controlled environment because what got you there because you kept using in treatment. And so now we take that away from you. Now you can get the treatment. Then once you leave, you continue with the treatment. So it's not punitive, it's actually supportive of your situation, just helping the environment now cater to your addiction. But it also tells you you're not getting out of this thing until you commit to being sober and do everything you need to do daily to maintain sobriety for the rest of your life.
So under a Marchman Act, they usually look to keep somebody in for 90 days. In Christine's case, it was so bad, it was 120 days. But Christine didn't want to go to sober living. And after 120 days, I get a call. Did you just pick up Christine? And I said, no, I don't have her. And they said, well, she's gone. She's long gone. And I'm thinking, this is my worst nightmare. We're at DEFCON 5, and we have no idea where she is. We made a decision to see if anybody knows about Christine's whereabouts. So I start posting on Facebook. Each second that goes by was gut-wrenching. Every thought is, where is she? I'm thinking, did she die? Has she OD'd? What is going on? Is she outside the city? Is she outside the state? Why isn't anybody helping me? It was the worst nightmare a father could have. I had no control. It's day 2, it's day 3. Please, God, have somebody tell me where she is. Please, God, have her still be alive. In the middle of the evening, I got a call, an unknown caller. So I answered it thinking it was somebody who knew her whereabouts. Dad? And it was her. And I said, Christine, are you okay, honey? And she says, I want you to get me out of here. I want you to take me somewhere where I'll be safe. Will you promise to go with me? And I say, yes. I want to go to the Fairy Pools, Dad. It's in Skye, Dad, the Isle of Skye in Scotland. It's beautiful. I'll be safe there, Dad. And she just says, Dad, I gotta go. And I'm like, honey, where are you? Click. And I still had no idea where she was. And I'm thinking, this is absolutely insane. I mean, way beyond a father's worst nightmare. And I'm still wondering, where is she and what kind of place is she in? And I know it can't be good. I'm willing to do anything to get her back. My plan A was to go the conventional route, and I hired this really good private detective that used to be the chief of police for a nearby city. And at that point, I know my daughter's probably not in a good place. My daughter's under the influence of drugs, and she was using somebody else's phone, so she wasn't alone. So my son and I and her mother started going through all the phone records. My son finds out the address of where Christine is at, and we find out this person knows exactly the kind of place she's in. When we start drilling down on the home, and I give it to the private investigator, and we realize it's a sex, drug, and human trafficking ring. So the detective says, Mr. Ortoll, this is a pretty bad guy that owns this house. And his associates are pretty bad. And that rap sheet on them was just the worst thing you could hear. It was sex trafficking, drug charges, aggravated battery and assault. So these were really bad people. My ex-wife and I were in a car and headed down there. And we pulled up to this beautiful gated community with families and kids and people walking. Not what we expected. So my ex-wife and I go to the door. And out comes a guy, and he looks at me, and he's totally messed up on meth. And I'm not in a good place right now. I'm in a place where I just want to go in there and take my daughter, and if not, I'm probably gonna regret what I'm gonna do next. And my ex-wife, she's like, all we want is our daughter. And I scream, Christine. And all I could hear is my daughter say, Dad. And I could tell you that was the longest minute of my life, but my daughter is trying to get her stuff and she's trying to get herself, and she wants to get the heck out of there. I could see the scabs, and I could see the same look on her face as that guy who was on meth. When Christine came out and I looked at her, she goes, "Don't look at me, Daddy." This guy says something to me, and it's so bad, I can't repeat it. And I just wanted to kill him. I just wanted to kill him. So, I found out later that, Christine was raped by the men in that home. And, to tell you that I went to a dark place is understating how I felt. I went to the most horrible place you can go to. You cannot imagine how I felt. You have no idea how I felt. I saw the guy that answered that door a lot. Was he the one that raped my daughter? Was it the owner of the home that raped my daughter? Was it one of his associates that raped my daughter? Then I can't think about that. I'm just thinking, I want to kill him. I want to kill all of them. I had the means to hire some bad people to do it. I wanted to do it myself. And it was freaking out my family. I knew the professional recommendation was to institutionalize my daughter somewhere where she could not escape, or to put her on methadone or Suboxone immediately and have behavioral therapy. That was the professional recommendation. That is what we should have done, but we did not. We finally all decided on a recovery center in Knoxville. The day Christine was about to go to recovery in Tennessee, and I was about to get in a plane to go back home, she goes, "Dad, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing, honey. I'm good. Give me a big hug." And when I hugged her so tight. She goes, "Dad, what's wrong?" And it just comes out, and I say, "Please don't let this be the last time I see you, Christine. Or when you get out, I want to take you to the fairy pools in the Isle of the Sky in Scotland." I made her that promise. That was the last time I saw her. That was the last time I saw my baby girl. It's the last time I saw Christine. The whole time she was in the recovery center in Knoxville, it was pretty bad. She was having a rough time. I knew there was a good chance she wouldn't make it. The night that I got that call that would be every father's nightmare, I felt strange. I knew things were off. My son called and he said, "Dad, Christine died. She OD'd. She died from a fentanyl overdose."
There's a hole in my heart that'll never be filled again.
We asked Christine to do journaling, and one of those journal assignments was to write her eulogy. She chose that it would be her father to give her eulogy if she died from this disease, and she wrote the eulogy for him.
Eulogy for my dad. My sweet, beautiful little girl. I can't believe she's been taken from us. She had this light in her eyes that I wish could have stayed forever. And even when she was hurting, she still loved and cared for her family very much. I loved her with all my heart, but I hated her disease. I will hold on to our laughs, cries, and favorite memories forever. I love you forever, and I would have given my own life for her as in a heartbeat. She was my reason and motivation to do better and be a better dad. There's nothing like a father-daughter bond, and ours was definitely special and unique. I find some comfort that we will meet again one day. And until then, not a single day will go by that I won't miss you. I wish I could hug you and hear your voice again.
How do you deal with this? I blame myself for all of it. I felt like I failed in life. It was too big for me. I needed to give it to God. Getting through the loss of a child is the most difficult thing in the world. It's going to be lifelong grief. But if I hadn't found faith, it would have been very difficult, if not impossible, to let go, to surrender. I needed to let it go. The power of letting go is the most beautiful thing in the world, because it's the only thing that can get you through a tragedy like this. And it's a shame that people have to go through a tragedy to usually find faith. I had to learn to forgive. Hay algo que debo de decirte. El fentanilo que están haciendo allí vino aquí y mató a mi hija.
Lo siento mucho. Tenemos corazón. Mi respeto es para usted que perdió a su hija, pero nadie le puso una pistola, nadie le pone la pistola a alguien para que tome una droga.
¿Usted no cree en Dios?
Yo creo que hay alguien más poderoso que nosotros, pero tampoco voy a traer a mi religión, a mi negocio. Que Dios me perdone. Yo no nací con dinero, yo no nací con nada, yo nací pobre. Uno quiere salir adelante nomás, pero ¿qué le puedo decir? Que Dios me perdone si estoy haciendo algo mal por darle de comer a mi familia y ayudándole a la gente que está haciendo este producto. Y me tengo que ir al infierno por hacer algo para sobrevivir yo solamente, y la gente, pues me voy al infierno.
I had to learn to forgive. I had to learn to forgive everyone. to learn to forgive others for all the evil I witnessed. And I had to let go of the hate. I had to learn how to forgive myself from all the guilt and shame that comes from losing a child to overdose, so I can move forward and heal and find my new purpose. I had so many questions that I wanted answered, and really from nobody else other than Christine. I really wanted to know what was in her mind, what was in her heart. The biggest gift that Christine left me was her journals. Her thoughts, her fears, her prayers, her fight, and they're all in writing. It was the toughest thing to read because some of them you could see her heart coming out, and sometimes you could see her fighting her demons. But the traumas, the secrets, and just the enormity and the horrible nature of this disease was hard to read. But I could see how big of a fight she had. And what I realized is she didn't share a lot of the things because she wanted to protect us. She didn't share a lot with Dad because she wanted to protect me. Her journals made me realize that we weren't just fighting the disease. We were fighting the trauma, which was the cause of the disease. And she was medicating the entire time to relieve herself of the pain of the trauma. So the whole time I thought the problem was the addiction, when the actual cause of it was the trauma.
When she passed away, it was the first person I lost to addiction, and I had almost died. And it was really just a wake-up call that this disease can take anyone. She was so beautiful. She had her whole life ahead of her, and she was on this healing journey. Christine gave me hope, and seeing her help me and help others really showed me that that was my path. It made me realize that I could help others and stay sober, that I could do this and have a life and a purpose. So she gave me that hope that that was possible. I know when I had thoughts of drinking, I thought about her. So yeah, I think Christine's definitely saved my life a couple times at least.
After reading Christine's journals and hearing all the stories how she helped others, it was very clear what she wanted me to do. She was passing me a baton. She was guiding me. She was showing me what ultimately would become my why. Suddenly I had new hope, and I found a way of transforming this tragedy into a way I could help others. Even when Christine was suffering, she was helping others. And I know at the end of the day, my daughter wants her memory to be about wanting to help people with this disease. We need to fight this disease from every front. And first, we need to focus on our children. Childhood trauma is a strong predictor of substance abuse, which is why we need to better educate our parents and teachers so we can identify those kids at risk before they medicate with drugs and alcohol. Our second initiative is to make sure that every college has a recovery program. And the goal of every college recovery program is to allow kids to thrive while remaining in some structured recovery community. The problem with college recovery today is that 95% of all colleges do not have a college recovery program. And even the ones that do, they have a lack of funding, they have a lack of defined physical space for meetings, and they don't have the appropriate leadership. The reason why it's so important today is that mental illness has quadrupled in our society. And it's important that we do everything that we can to keep students safe and in recovery during their college experience. Our third initiative is to find a way to better treat addiction. So we gotta make it less expensive and less confusing. My daughter, Christine, was one of 100,000 plus people who died from a fentanyl overdose. It's time we enact legislation that puts drug dealers in jail for knowingly selling fentanyl and other synthetic opiates that are a poison. One of the first things we did with our charity was at her high school's annual soccer alumni game. In honor of Christine, everybody wore number 5. in solidarity and to raise awareness of this disease. When I used to see people that were suffering from mental health and addiction on streets, I didn't see their faces. And now I see what they really are. I see them as people. People who need help. I have compassion for them. And they are hurting, and they are human, and I see their faces. We are all children of God. They all deserve a second chance, and what they need is help. Christine fought her monster courageously, but lost. And it's our desire to give people hope so they don't lose their battle against this terrible disease. Together, we can battle this disease 1 second at a time. You made me promise, Christine, that I would come here to the fairy pools and the Isle of Skye in Scotland. Nearly 2 years later, I kept the promise. I know you're here with me, Christine. And it's so far away from the hell you suffered. People will remember you for helping others heal. I love you more than anything. You're no longer in pain. You're no longer suffering. We're both at peace. And now I know you're safe.